Hi, my name is Becky Allen. I am a member of the District Innovation Design and Learning Team, and I partner with Meadowbrook Elementary. This presentation was provided to our PTO back in November, and I partnered with Natalie Sawatsky in this presentation. Our focus was to talk about personalized learning. And to understand personalized learning, you have to understand the shifts we are making from a traditional class environment that was designed in the industrial age to a more modern classroom experience that is designed for an age that is supported with technology and so many more resources. This transition really fits beautifully with the Vision 2031 we have in Hopkins and our learning framework. This learning framework defines the way in which we would like our students to be learning in Hopkins. Personalized learning is at the center, and it is supported through our core values, competencies, and the traits of a Hopkins scholar. In the classroom, we want our students to be experiencing concept-based curriculum. This is curriculum that goes beyond the facts and has kids seeing bigger ideas and connecting those bigger ideas between disciplines. We want to pose questions that drive curiosity and push kids to really pursue interests and do their learning through those interests. We also recognize that we can be exploring other spaces and places for learning. Technology opens up so many other options for us, as well as the way in which we design our classrooms, our buildings, and the spaces outside of our classrooms. Finally, we want to measure the success of our students using more than just single tests and standardized tests. Students and children are so much more than just a test. And so we will be moving towards metrics that show growth in their social emotional development, cognitive development, physical development, the whole child. Surrounding all this is being in a restorative environment. That means that we are focused on equity, anti racism, and watching for bias. I'm going to share a little video with you by a consultant that we are now working with named Paul France. Paul has lived this work. He has been doing personalized learning for a number of years, and he now does coaching in school districts across the nation. Listen to how he describes personalized learning and see if it gives you some new perspectives.
At the time. And our charge there was to design technology that would help us personalize learning. Um, and to make a very long story short, we tried to achieve this through a playlist, right? So the hypothesis was if we give each child a playlist of activities that's individualized based on their learning profile and their learning needs, then we would personalize learning. You could probably tell where this story is going, that it was unsustainable. It didn't work. And it was partially because kids were forced to learn through screens, and I, as the educator, am running around the classroom trying to support kids one-on-one while they're all working on something different, right? But then there's also an element of it that was sort of dehumanizing, right? They were all working on something different, which means it's really hard to build community and learn, in community with others, and as cheesy as it sounds, like bond through learning with others when you're all working on something different. And so that led me to this idea that, we don't have to individualize learning in order to personalize learning. And that's the biggest idea that's come away from all of my work as a teacher, and as a consultant, and in supporting differentiation in the classroom. In fact, what some personalized learning folks will say when they advocate for that level of individualization is they'll use the term equity, right? And they'll say, well, I want to make sure everyone gets what they need in the classroom. And that is a great incentive, right? Like we want all kids to have their needs met, and that's the purpose of equity, right? But we have to remember that equity is so much more than just giving kids activities or content within their respective zones of proximal development. A huge part of equity work is a sense of belonging, connectedness to something greater than ourselves, right? And it's hard to achieve that when everyone's doing something different. Also, when we're giving everyone something different that's within their zone of proximal development, it ends up being grade level correlated, and we sometimes unintentionally track kids, which means that kids that are, according to standardized tests, functioning below grade level, they're getting access to low rigor content, and we're actually exacerbating opportunity gaps, which is only marginalizing those students even further. So we're going to talk a little bit about universal design, and we're going to talk a little bit about open-ended tasks, but the idea that's come away from this work for me is that we need to be universally designing our learning environments and our curriculum so that there are access points so that kids can make those connections with one another, but still get their needs met, even though they're interacting with a similar learning environment and with similar curriculum.
As a part of our presentation, we also asked individuals to think about, how do you define a traditional teacher? And the words that you see in the box were the words that were provided from the members attending this presentation. So think about your description of a traditional teacher. Do you see some of those ideas? We asked people to think about that, and then to think about your very best learning experience. What did that teacher do? What did that environment look like, and how did you feel in that experience? Now, when we added that thinking, you'll see a new set of words here. And now what we're trying to think about is, rather than the teacher as being the person imparting knowledge and dumping ideas, instead we're facilitating the growth of learning. We're guiding students, we're engaging them, we're creating experiences that are rich and connected, and helping students to see their value and the value they bring to the learning environment, while also increasing their knowledge and their skills and their aptitudes. We've also worked with an organization called the Institute for Personalized Learning. The puzzle pieces here all have identifiers of things that we would look for in a classroom that has personalized learning. So I'm going to share another video with you that was actually taken in a Meadowbrook classroom. These students are using a model known as Modern Classroom. Their teacher created an electronic roadmap, and the students clicked through each part of the roadmap at their own pace, where sometimes they worked independently, sometimes they worked with others, sometimes they had a directed activity, and other times they had a choice. So when I play the video, I want you to watch for, what do you see in this classroom, and all the different ways in which students are engaging in their learning. Did you see all of these things? Technology, they were being independent, they had choice, they're feeling good about their learning, there's flexibility, there's a variety of spaces where they could sit and engage in their learning, and there were the use of small groups. So personalized learning isn't going to separate children from one another, and they certainly aren't going to be on their computers all day long. This picture is from a first grade classroom. This is another way you'll see personalized learning showing up in a classroom. You can see a list of things they can do independently, things they can do with a partner, and then things where they have a choice. What we know is that they are building their agency, their ability to make choices, to think independently, to be personal advocates for themselves, and to be able to manage their emotions and behaviors such that they can be good learners. This table shows you the teaching behaviors we're trying to leave and the things we are trying to move toward. I'm going to give you a moment to look at this. Hopefully you will notice that the things we are moving towards are things you are starting to see in the classrooms that your children are attending. Thank you for taking time to listen to this presentation. I hope you'll ponder this a little and think about what was an aha for you, what excites you about personalized learning, and what are you wondering now? Thank you for being part of the Meadowbrook community.